So Al Swettenham,
Yes.
aka Geek Boy.
Well, I come from quite a sort of musical family.
So Al Swettenham,
Yes.
aka Geek Boy. So Geek Boy, should I call you Geek Boy, should I call you Al?
I honestly don't mind.
Right, thank you for coming onto our show and doing an interview.
Thank you for having me.
No, you're welcome. Thank you. Come down from Manchester because that's where you're based, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. So I basically came across you completely by fluke, by chance. I heard a couple of your tracks on a couple of shows, looked you up, and there you were, and discovered that I really like your music and that you produce the kind of stuff that I'm really into. That's why I really wanted to kind of like chat with you and sort of get you on and sort of talk to you about that. So can you sort of tell me about you first, like your background, like how did you get into it?
Well, I come from quite a sort of musical family. My dad in particular, he's a really great piano player and songwriter. I mean, from really early, he was always playing me his favourite records like Paul Simon and the Beatles and the Beach Boys, and Supertramp and Stevie and all sorts. So I've still got a lot of love for a lot of that 60s and 70s music.
Yeah.
Around the age of 12 or 13 or something, my dad got a new computer and a MIDI keyboard and stuff. So I ended up using it and sort of just teaching myself how to sequence MIDI and trying to write really kind of basic house tracks and stuff, which were rubbish. But that became my sort of hobby / obsession, and I sort of quite quickly kind of felt like this was the thing I really, really wanted to do, and couldn't really sort of imagine myself doing anything else. So all my sort of decisions from that point were kind of based on that. Like I did music GCSE and then a music technology A-level. And then I did music tech at university.
So it was definitely something that you appreciated from a younger age, probably firstly thanks to your dad, and then you developed it from playing the piano for example, and then going into sort of mixing and stuff like that. So.
And I feel quite fortunate in a way because I feel like I've sort of had the chance to explore a lot of different areas of music production and different processes and stuff. Because like my school where I did my A-level, because the technology was really kind of old and decrepit, like it was all analog. We had like a 16-channel desk, but only 10 channels on it ever worked.
Yeah.
But it was proper like, we had a big like Tascam 16-track tape machine. So it was proper kind of reel-to-reel, threading the tape and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that was obviously a lot of fun. And doing a mix, because it's like, no automation or whatever, you get all your mates with their fingers on the mute buttons and the faders and stuff, like, oh, put it in now.
Yeah.
And then when I went to uni, it was at Huddersfield, it was completely different because they had all digital desks.
Yeah, times were changing by that time, yeah. And the internet, I mean, obviously it's been around for a long time, but I mean, that has helped, I think, our generation and then the generation below us to publicise our own stuff. I mean, it's certainly something I find as kind of a journalist, and if I want my writing, my articles, my interviews to be put out there, we can do that now. We don't have to ask the permission of someone who owns a radio station or a TV channel. So is that how you kind of got your stuff out there?
Yeah, totally. I created a SoundCloud page like a few years ago now, to be honest. Probably 2 or 3 years, maybe longer. And I feel like it's taken me a little while to sort of work out exactly what my sound is, because I've been through a few different phases. And it's only really in the past year or so that I feel like I've really kind of settled on a sound that I really love and that kind of works with the whole Geek Boy thing. And does that make sense?
It does make sense, because just from what you've said to me, like, the track I originally really liked of yours, you said, you have changed your direction and your sound a bit since then. And I've noticed listening to your SoundCloud that you have moved on in style slightly. So I guess, from university throughout that up until you started up the SoundCloud, you were experimenting with different styles of kind of house and all that kind of and electro.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that really kind of prompted me to get a bit more confident about, setting up a SoundCloud and putting myself out there, was I got really into a genre that really didn't take off in this country in the way I was kind of hoping it would, which was called Moonbaton, which kind of started in the States, and it was kind of a fusion of kind of sort of like reggaeton rhythms, but with a kind of Dutch house element.
I love it.
Starting to sound really nerdy now, but it was kind of.
I love it. Like all that stuff, sort of like especially the 90s was a lot of good stuff like that, and then onwards, a bit of sort of Swedish and I mean, one of my favourite bands is from Sweden, the Cardigans. I mean, they're not actually the style of music that we're talking about, but that they did produce some good stuff out there. So I guess I would probably like that kind of genre as well. I've gone through your back catalogue and stuff, and when I listen to your music, I think of people like Skrillex. Is that a distinction that you like to be?
Well, it's. I mean, I think Skrillex is a really talented producer, so that's certainly a huge compliment.
Yeah.
I would say that maybe his style traditionally is slightly more kind of. I guess he's going for a more slightly kind of aggressive bro step kind of thing that maybe the night. Having said that, I quite like some of the new kind of Diplo and Skrillex Jack U stuff.
Well, I've written down Diplo actually because that is one that's when I think about what your influences might have been, I think when you said aggressive there, that's I think why I actually kind of prefer some of your stuff, because sometimes his can take a kind of turn where it suddenly changes completely, whereas you're a bit more subtle, which I think is a good thing. So, well done.
Thank you very much.
What about your influences and stuff?
Well, I guess starting with some of the obvious ones, I mean, I think Lido, I don't know if you know Lido, he's a Norwegian producer. I think he's incredible. He's just, I mean, for me, probably at the moment, he's kind of just head and shoulders above everyone else, just in terms of sheer creativity and stuff.
I think he's come up on my Spotify as like a suggested artist or something. The name definitely rings a bell, but I don't know if I've listened to any of his stuff.
I think with someone like Lido, like just working and around at the moment, it's very hard to not be influenced by him because he's so kind of next level. I'd say as well, Flume and Cashmere Cat, but kind of like, I guess kind of as well as those kind of big names, I'm also kind of influenced by some of the people who are more kind of, I guess, contemporaries or whatever.
Yeah.
Like Sky-Fi or Polar Youth. Yeah, which was quite a kind of different track for me.
Which is a track, it's not that I just like Haunted
Houses.
I actually do.
To clarify.
But yeah, no.